Best case, worst case, Chris. You start it. Let's go.
Right, let's start with the best case scenario for the Vancouver Canucks moving forward here, okay? We had this conversation off air actually yesterday, and I know we wanted to kind of have a Monday to kind of wrap up the weekend, but now we can look forward. You talked about it. You don't want to talk about Bruce Boudreau anymore. You already forgot about him. Best case scenario for the Canucks in this season playing out here with Rick Tocchet. What are a couple things, because I don't think there's a perfect scenario that's going to happen, but let's talk about a couple things that kind of lean towards the best case scenario. I'd love to see anything in the comments here as well. We see a lot of people in the YouTube chat right now. What are some things you'd like to see as the season goes on here that would lean towards the best case scenario situation for this Canucks team? Because in my eyes, a big thing is going to be watching this team improve their defensive play. That's damn obvious, right? This team's near the bottom in 5-on-5 goals against per 60. You want to see that number come down. You're likely going to see that number come down if you have a healthy Thatcher Demko coming back as well. I just would like to see, like, you watch this Canucks team, and I understand there's a lot of pressure on the goaltenders, right? From just the way that they have to play against, the way that they have to play with the defense core that they have in front of them and how many open shots they get from the slot. Like, that's the main thing I want to see this team change, is like defend the slot and the front of the net better. There's got to be a better way to do this with a defensive structure. And listen, I'm not an NHL coach. I don't know the full structure of how to defend defensively. I can just see how many shots the Canucks give up in the slot compared to how many they're able to get. That needs to change. That needs to, like, how you defend the slot needs a massive thing to change with this organization. That's one of the big things I think would help this team best case. But the absolute best case scenario, and I see Dick Dosky in here in the chat here. That's probably a name that just got me. Pulled it up. Alex, what is the best case scenario here? I got a photo of it. This here, to me, is the best case scenario. Boom. Draft lottery simulator. How many times did it take me for this to happen? Vancouver at the top. That is still the best case scenario. So I want to see this team shut down a lot more of these scoring chances, these grade A scoring chances. But heck, I'd still like to see the Canucks finish as close to the bottom as possible, give them the best chance for this draft lottery so you can have a result like we have on the screen right here with the Vancouver Canucks winning the draft lottery. What about you, Quad? Something for best case scenario before we get to the worst case scenario, because I want to start with the positive. We're on a roll here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've laid it out.
Chances. I don't want to see the slot just be wide open for everyone.
Yeah, I feel like I've laid it out pretty clearly.
Quad's plan, yeah.
Earlier, I want to see Rick Tocchet stay true to his word. And look, if we see a change in philosophy, I'm not criticizing Rick Tocchet over it. That's all I'm going to say. If we see Rick Tocchet come out and say stuff like, it's not so much about getting wins, it's about laying down the foundation and all this structure stuff. If we see a change in philosophy there, one, I'll ask Rick Tocchet about it, obviously. I'm not blaming Rick Tocchet if there's a change in philosophy there. Sure.
Take some L's along the way of building this team the right way. Absolutely.
That's what I want to see. I want to see this team. Yep. And again, people call it the stealth tank, call it a rebuild, call it a retool. Don't care. I want to see moves that I like.
You know what I'd love to call it? A goddamn plan. I'd love to actually see a plan come into action here with this Vancouver Canucks team more than anything. You can call it a stealth tank. You can call it a retool. Call it a rebuild. At least just give Canucks fans a plan.
Yep.
And if your plan is to just get this structure underway, try every player in the damn organization. Get Alex Canuck-Liepert signed. Bring him up for a couple games. I know everyone wants to see him fight someone in the NHL. Everything. Try everyone.
Beyond whatever.
Try the Swedish House Mafia as your fourth line. Do everything. See how they look under Rick Tocchet and the way he wants to play. Get Christian Wolanin up here. Get Jack Rathbone in the lineup. Do it all.
Beyond what I've already.
Do it all, man. You have the full runway where there is no expectation. There's no expectation for the Canucks to win games. There's an expectation from Canucks fans that they hope they can finish near the bottom. That's what Canucks fans are kind of like hoping for right now.
All you have to do is lose, Rick Tocchet.
There's no expectation for wins here in this market. And I think that's understood by a lot of people who want like a break it down, rebuild thing. But it's also understood by the fan base who just saw the coach that they love and love to cheer for, that go into the arena and were cheering for Bruce Boudreau. They don't have that anymore. So now you just have no expectation for people going to this arena wins. They just want to see some structure, some development, trying everything. Like, in my eyes, 1,000% Jack Rathbone should be back up within the NHL when he's healthy. Try him out. Because what are you doing? What are you gaining from Riley Stillman? Nothing long term. Like, get some opportunities for some of these guys. Maybe you even like. I actually just saw Ben Lipka come in here again. Bring Jet Wu. Try him as a forward. They did it in Abbotsford. I don't know about that. But like every option that you have, try it this year, right? Like, I don't know, man. There's so much, unless you really have like the only player that I look at now, it's for that I wouldn't touch that has an NHL contract is like, let Klimovich keep doing his thing. That plan is working down there. But everybody else, give him a shot. Show him what and you know what? It probably helps you're getting closer to more L's on the season. If you're playing guys from Abbotsford, sure. But hey, maybe one of these guys, maybe the way that Linus Karlsson plays, like, yeah, he's not quick, but he's big, he's strong. In the AHL, he's looked pretty good defensively for what he's done. Like, maybe he's a guy who fits, like, everything, right? Like, I think there's, like I said, with no expectations, you can really not have to answer to anyone for wins and losses. I think that the remainder of this season, the media, the fans, everyone, nobody's going to care if you lose every single game this year. They will care because they'll be happy. So there's a plan that needs to be executed from management. There's a plan that needs to be executed from the coach. The players aren't included in making that plan. They're just going to go out on the ice and play. And if they play to the style that the coach wants and they can build that structure up, huge win and huge thing for this Canucks organization moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, you got anything else for best case? What do you think?
Well, I mean, best case is a home run of a trade deadline. I think Corey Anderson was the one that brought that up in our chat. Like, that is still, and as much as I like to talk about Rick Tocchet all of a sudden and all that sort of stuff about, oh, I like this decision, I like what he's saying. The most important thing for this team, beyond losing games, well, maybe losing games, getting the best draft lottery odds is most important. But I would actually say more important than that is hitting a home run at the trade deadline. Like, don't extend Bo Horvat. These reports please. The Canucks might have one last offer in them. Why? Why do you have one last offer here? You already put yourself in this position by extending JT Miller. You can't extend Bo Horvat. You made that clear when you signed JT Miller. You can't get both of these guys done. Don't sign Andrei Kuzmenko. Trade him if there is a good trade offer on the table. Now, if there's a contract that makes sense, sure. But if we're looking at what Kuzmenko could get on the open market, reports have suggested it could be like 5 years at $6 million or something like that.
Oh, Nelly.
Canucks can't be signing that. Or even 2 years at $7 or $6 million. Canucks have no benefit from that. Like, I don't quite. I think most importantly is a good trade deadline. Most important is a good trade deadline. This team needs to sell off as many assets as they can, and again, commit to the tank.
And it goes above it. I feel like we just keep going above each other, from the players to the management to the it's the plan, man. If you stay on this path and even kind of lean into it more than just thinking you could be competitive in 2 years, like if you lean into it more of actually restructuring, rebuilding, retooling, whatever you want to call it, if you lean into it the right way and you stay on this path and don't twist and turn and think that coming into next season you're a real competitive team that can win a Stanley Cup, like, no, like, stay on the plan. If you can stay on the plan for this season, and I think that, like I said, there's no excuses to win. There's no excuses for management now because they don't have their guy in the right spot. They have all of it. There's no more excuses. There's zero excuses able for these groups. Now they have to be heavily criticized if they don't stick to this plan. Now, worst case scenario. Pull this one up, Alex. This is the worst case scenario. The Canucks get an incredible bump from their coach. They continue to just score a bunch of goals, or, maybe some players really start to take off. They also have the third easiest remaining schedule as this season goes on here. Only the Flames and the Kraken have an easier schedule than them. The worst case scenario for me is, you end up winning a lot of games. You have a similar record to how Bruce Boudreau finished the year last year. And you end up picking like 14th, 13th, 15th in that range, right? And that's the worst case scenario. I don't think it's going to happen. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But I think hearing some quotes like the one that we ran earlier today, this is a different feeling. And it's like you said, Bruce was tasked with something very different than Rick Tocchet has right now, right? These two coaches, the situation that they came in here to Vancouver, vastly different. Bruce didn't think he was going to be here a long time. I think he knew coming into this, it's an NHL opportunity. That was good for him. He got an NHL opportunity. He got a chance to, show the hockey world that he can still coach an NHL team and have success accomplished for him. He showed that. I think he's going to get another job somewhere. I don't know if it's a head coaching job. He might. But this is a very different situation and an ask of what they're asking from Rick Tocchet, where it's coming in and he's going to be here for 2 more years after this season for sure, maybe even more. Like it's a very different look. So I don't think, like, if I had to guess, and man, I try and be like positive about this team to a certain degree for the outlook, but I do feel, again, more positive than I do negative after just thinking that they can stick to this plan and hearing the way Rick Tocchet talked about it. It's got to give you a little bit of hope if they can just stay on this path of a retool, rebuild, things where you actually do take a step back. Because it's like every time the Canucks try to take a step forward or try to improve or try to do something or just stay on the weird path they've been on, they keep taking like a step down the wrong path. And that's what's been screwing them up so much. That's what the OEL trade made you look like for your organization. Frank talked about it yesterday. How bad did that screw up the organization? Huge, because they took a step down the wrong path. Just so many situations like that where this team is taking a step down the wrong path. It's laid out for them, the right path that they have to take. They have all of these assets in Luke Shen and Andrei Kuzmenko and Bo Horvat that can get you so much at this trade deadline. You can really retool up your prospect pool here moving forward from what you have to deal at the deadline. Just stay on that path and you'll be all right. But the worst case scenario would be running into that 12, 13, 14, 15 spot in the draft because your team went on a run and you played the wheels off of Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. So I like hearing the quotes from talking about that not being something he wants to do.
Yep, exactly. I agree with it.
But I still say Pettersson should kill penalties, man.
Yeah, totally.
Almost lost it there. Too much.